Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. This is the fourth video in my series on seed starting indoors. Please subscribe if you want to learn how to do that. Today we're going to talk about how do you set your seed starting mix up for planting. We're going to go over how do you know when your seed starts are ready to be watered, and how do you bottom water. Three things that will be really helpful in getting you off to the right start. So the first thing is pretty simple. When you buy your seed starting mix, it's going to be pretty much dry. And in the other videos I talk about sterilizing it with boiling water, and it'll look something like this, very light. And if we go into here, this has been sterilized with hot water. You can see how light the seed starting mix is. You want to make sure, if you decide not to sterilize it with boiling water, at least saturate it so that it's filled with water. When you squeeze it, maybe a drop or two of water comes out, but that will be hydrated the right way, and that's perfect for seed starting. You want it to be hydrated because, here's some water. If you put in dry mix into your seed cells, it's going to be very loose. It's going to be problematic. But see how it floats on top? It's going to take a long time for that to pull water in. If you put in right here the saturated mix, you can see that it starts sucking up water, dropping to the bottom. That's what you want. You want your starting mix to really be able to pull water up so that when you're watering from the bottom, it's getting to your seeds. All right, so how do you pack your cells so that you get off to the right start? Pre-moistened, and basically fill your tray. This is too loose, so you want to thumb pack it down, press it down. You want a lot of material in here so that the root systems can really develop well. Once you pack it down, drop some more on, press it in, and that sets up your standard 6-pack. It should be kind of heavy because the seed starting mix has water in it, and you've really packed the cell down. When you flip it over, make sure any of the cells here that are crushed, you pop them out. Just fix it up, because you want these to be able to reach into the water. They all have holes in them. They'll absorb the water from the bottom. If you're doing something bigger, again, you can start in the bigger cups. If you're not doing a lot of plants, same thing. Fill it up, thumb pack it down. That'll be perfect for a nice root system, and you're set up. It's just that simple. Pre-moisten, pack it down, refill. So when do you know to water? These have all been recently planted. It's a little bit early to start planting your seeds. I'll show you that in future videos. These are getting ready to be props for those videos. Nice and dark. Here's a cell. 5 light tops, 1 dark top. This is saturated with water. These have begun to dry out. When the tops turn a light brown, and you can see the comparison, that's when you want to water from the bottom. And the reason you do that is because this mix, the starting mix, will always dry from the top down. The lights are on top, water's evaporating from here. You want this to dry out. It's good for managing molds and fungus and problems like that. But when the top is dry, underneath still has moisture in it. So the top is dry, it's starting to crumble. But there's plenty of water down there. So the signal is dry top, water from bottom. Once it dries, if you look at it, you have a day or so before it would get all the way. Well, here's a better example. So you have a day or so once it's dry before this whole column would dry out. So it's really up to you when you want to water, but that's the sign to look for. There are 2 main reasons why I recommend watering from the bottom. Number 1 reason, it's going to save you a ton of time. You just make sure you have trays, obviously, that don't have holes in them. But you could have a big flat. You could have something set up like this. Anything that you can pour the water into. So if I were going to water, if I was going to water, I don't know why I said it that way, each one of these cells, you would get a lot of splashing, and it's a mess. Why do you want to do that? If you would go through and have to water every one of those cells, it's going to be a mess. It can spread disease around. It can wash seeds out. You just fill up the bottom. About 1/4 to 1/3 of the tray. This isn't enough water for this tray, but I want to just show you. And that's going to get to all the plants. Fill it up. Even if you filled it up halfway, that's fine. After about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever water is not absorbed, you can just pour it out. But with some practice, you get used to it. So it's going to save you time. It's more hygienic, less splashing. And when you go to feed your plants, you just fill the cells up with water, which has just a little bit of fertilizer. And we'll talk about that in future videos. But this is all you have to do to pre-moisten, get your seed starting mix ready, set the seed cells up with the pre-packed starting mix, and this is the best way to water. Next step, we'll get into planting. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and follow this series through 2020. Thanks so much for watching.